when a phone call comes in. Today's video is brought to you by the 1/3 roll of arse wipe, because you thought COVID was the crisis. 1/3 roll of arse wipe. Be respectful. Okay, here we go again. Audio's good. Everything's beauty, right on. Week 3 of this, so give you some more updates. Some of it's the same stuff, just making sure that everybody's staying on the same page with where we're getting, and then there's some new updates, of course, as we go through this thing. So, number one, as usual, massive shout out to all our healthcare providers and those that are walking into the face of this each and every day at our hospital, at the health unit, at all the doctors' offices, everybody. So at the hospital, volunteers, kitchen maintenance, unit clerks, foundation staff, which are mostly working from home now. Well done, Cooey and Michael and Rhonda. Cancer center staff, the doctors, nurses, lab techs, x-ray, the chaplain, maternity ward, health unit downtown, as I mentioned, our home care nurses, that's another big one, often forgotten about, and as well as our first responders with EMS, police, and fire that are all doing this. And pay attention to High-River Fire Department website or Facebook page. Cody and Stuart and the gang, they're all doing different videos just to keep you up to speed on what's going on there. So, this week's kind of shout out is to, with the recent changes with essential services, it's a huge shout out to all of those that are operating our essential services, those businesses that are able to stay somewhat open. You know, kudos on you for continuing to deal directly with people, and you're kind of putting yourself out there, so we appreciate it, because whether you're grocery staff or hardware or whatever you're doing, like it's not easy through these times. And some businesses say, well, they're lucky to be open, but on the other side, it's like some of the staff are like, I'm kind of nervous about going to work. But so regardless, a huge shout out to those. And again, back to our grocery store staff, these guys are rock stars, because that's extremely essential for us. Still got Walk of Life playing in the background here. Hang on, there we are. The big thing with them is, you know, to be thankful to all of them, and not just the checkout clerk. I mean, the staff that are putting the produce on the shelves, and, you know, thank all of them, because they're all in this. And keep your social distancing when you're going by them as well, please. Complacency, and you know, we're in week 3 of these videos anyways, week 3 or 4 of kind of taking this pandemic very, very seriously. And I want to make sure that we don't start to, you know, we're kind of getting used to being at home more and everything else and not going out, but we cannot start to become complacent in our efforts for this. And Michelle and I were talking earlier, just before we started here, about stories that our grandparents used to tell us about the Depression years, and, you know, decades of rationing and everything else. Well, we still got grocery stores that are mostly full. And that went on for years and years, and World War I, World War II years. These went on forever. The kind of restrictions that we're dealing with now, with, you know, being told to stay at home and undercover. But, you know, we're looking at this and going, June? They dealt with it for years. We're looking at it, you know, seriously. This is not going to be weeks. It's going to be a couple of months probably, and we have to be prepared for that. But we can do this for a couple of months. There's no question. And Another friend of mine was telling me the other day, he's like, wow, we got to get this all sorted out and the government's got to get it all fixed. You know, we've got about a week to do this or else we're done. We're never going to recover through this if we don't get it sorted out. And yes, we will. We will recover. We will go on. It will take time. But I'm not looking at it as a doom and gloom thing. It sucks. It's not fun. And we have to be very, very careful because it is extremely serious. But we will get through this, and we've got each other's backs, and we can make this happen. So on that, how do we make it happen? Number one, I will continue to say it, assume you have it and act as though you have it and act as though you are able to transmit this virus. So hand washing is critical. Using hand sanitizers at all times is critical. When you go to the grocery store, I do wear gloves in the grocery store. Probably start wearing a mask as well. But the gloves, yes, they're single use, but go into the grocery store, get your groceries, come out. Do not take the gloves into your vehicle and drive home with your gloves on. Throw the gloves out as soon as you've unloaded your groceries. Then you dispose of your gloves. Do your messy stuff, then you throw the gloves out. Things I'm learning from my nurse at home all day, every day. So social distancing, it's physically 2 meters. It's not, mentally 2 meters. It is a physical distance of 2 meters. We have to keep that going. So the biggest thing is, stay at home as much as you can. Continue to focus on High River, which means primarily focus on yourself, making sure you're taking all the hand hygiene and all the self-distancing into play. Focus on your family second, focus on your neighbors, and then focus on your community. But we need to focus on High River. If we start looking out broader than that, it's massive. We're doing well, High River. Still in the High River zone. We still only have 2 known cases of COVID, so no changes from last week. So we got to keep going on this. And when you look at comparing Alberta and Canada to other countries, we're doing well. So let's keep this going. We cannot become complacent on it. And when you look at the disaster and that's happening at the Mackenzie Town Care Center, and our hearts go out to all of those people within these facilities and their families outside that are not able to access their loved ones. It is brutal. We have to stay vigilant on this to make sure that this doesn't happen in High River. And so that's why I'm saying we've got to be very, very careful with what we're doing. And we all want to get back to normal. We all want to get back into business and start operating our businesses as normal. Everybody wants to do that. The more we take care of our hands and our hygiene and our distancing, the faster this thing goes through. So Happy Trails is another big one. Happy Trails is very, very busy right now. It's people's way of getting out. I will continue to say, stay in your small family groups. Don't be going out into your big community groups and getting on Happy Trails, and do not stop and chat with others on Happy Trails. Just keep moving. We got lots of time to chat later after this, so just get your exercise, get your fresh air, and just be patient, be kind to each other. That's extremely important, and it's also important to note that we all have our stress levels. Don't think that that everybody does have a different level of stress through this, so just be kind and patient to everybody. COVID in the town, all of our parks are closed. We've mentioned that before. There's yellow ribbons around them. It does not mean the playgrounds and everything that you just go underneath the ribbons and go to play in. They are snot factories. They're gross. You don't want your kids on them. We want to keep you off. It's a temporary thing, but it's an extremely important one. George Lane Park Campground will be closed for the foreseeable future. We will not be allowing any camping into George Lane Park. This is not the place where, when the weather improves, that you go and do your quarantining in George Lane Park. It's going to be closed. Snowbirds, travelers, those that are in quarantine, you stay at home. These are provincially mandated rules. You stay at home, you stay on your property. You do not leave your property and go on the happy trails. And I'll be very, very clear about this, that we are watching, and our bylaw is watching, and the community is watching. This is extremely important that you abide by these rules. And we will allow people to phone our bylaw department and report people that are disobeying these rules. We're not screwing around with this. We want to get this through this as fast as possible, and this is how we'll do it. So those people that are under quarantine for any reason, you have to stay on your property. You can go outside into your own backyard, but that's about it. I'm sorry. But another thing that I want to be clear about with the town and what we're working on is we're coming into spring, and just because of COVID doesn't mean we don't have flood awareness going on, right? So Chris and the crew over at the town, they've started working on our flood preparedness so that we are prepared to take on 2 of these events at the same time. And we have the equipment necessary. We have the stockpile, the provincial stockpile that's sitting in Aldersyde if needed on any level. We have that available. We will be bringing the pumps out along 12th Avenue there because we're still on temporary measures with the sandbags until the berm is built, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes here. But at the end of the day, we are still the most well-protected community from flood risk in all of Canada. That does not mean we become complacent and lazy about it. We are ready and we are preparing just as we do every other year. So I just wish we could build some kind of berm for COVID, because that would be pretty easy. Anyways, going back to groups, obeying the rules and everything else. We have some more religious holidays that are coming up that are usually mass gatherings of people that will not be able to take place this year in mass gatherings. So those that are celebrating Easter, Passover, Ramadan, very, very important that you avoid getting together in groups. These rules still apply. Preferring in your own home with your small family groups to celebrate these events, but you know, larger groups, you can do them virtually using the technology that's available, but the rules still apply regardless of the religious holiday. Facebook, social media, any media, I'll continue to say it, everybody, you got to take a break from it. You got to give yourself some breathing room. It's overwhelming to just constantly be scrolling through your phone, and it's just so much. And there's not a lot new out there. It's changing, but it's kind of a lot of the same. And when there's extremely important new news out there, you'll get it. So what I'm saying is just once a day at least, just give yourself a few hours of nothing. It's hard, but it's important. Speaking on that level to the mental health component that we're all going out to, if you yourself or somebody that you know needs some help, our FCSS department is available by phone, by email. You can access them through the Town of High River website and get these people some help. We got to have each other's backs through this, and just wanting to make sure that everybody's taken care of properly, because the mental strain of this pandemic is much like the flood. It's a second wave on its own, just the mental strain, whether you actually have COVID or not. The mental portion of this thing can be very overwhelming. So just be on the watch for each other, and contact our FCSS department if you don't have resources available to you. They will direct you. Businesses on that end, number one, I am not looking at this as a doom and gloom thing. This is going to be a tough thing to get through, of course, but we will prevail through this, and we will get this done, and in a lot of cases be better for it. And always, you know, with crisis comes opportunity, and chaos comes opportunity. So keep your eyes and ears open, watch what's going on, because when this is over, there's going to be opportunities that are open to you. So, but again, with the businesses, the same rules apply, and please obey the provincial health rules. We've already had the public report on a couple of businesses that had their doors open that were not, and so we sent our bylaw people over to just give them a warning and stress how important this is. So again, the public is out there watching everybody, and it's your responsibility to respect the laws, and again, to make sure we come through this as good and as fast as we possibly can so that all of us can get back to work. If you're reported, there are fines, $1,000 minimum, if you're reported to Alberta Health Services as being open when you shouldn't be. So you go from there, and courts can fine you from anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000. I know that would pretty much finish a lot of businesses around if you're screwing around with this. So it's very important. Now, a lot of the businesses are operating under the rules where they can still provide services and do deliveries to your home, etc., and very quick pickups. It's possible to get your goods, so you can always contact those businesses to see what level of operation they're under and how you can still help to support them, etc. One very great piece of news that I noticed the other day, the hitching post is open. So a little bit of normalcy and springtime goodness that's happening over there, and Carmen and the crew are starting to knock out burgers and everything. So that's a High River institution. That's very good news just to see that being there. But again, the hitching post can get to be very busy. Keep your distance, place your order, and kind of back away and wait for your order. So we still have to be very vigilant with that. Going back to George Lane Park a little bit. Yes, the campground will be closed. We are looking at methods of restricting vehicle access in there, probably closing off the parking lots, because what we're seeing is, half a dozen vehicles all parked closely together, whether they're chatting or what they're doing, but, getting out and going for their walks or something. But we don't like all those vehicles being even that close together. So, because we don't know what's going on. So we'll probably be closing off the parking areas, and we're going to continue to monitor that park to see kind of where we end up with that. Skate park is closed. Tennis courts, pickleball courts, those are all closed until the situation is resolved. All the sports fields will be closed. But the pathways, all our happy trails, they will remain open so that you can get your exercise and move about. Again, pass on by everybody, a wave and say hi and keep moving. So some of the projects that two of the key projects that I want to speak about that everybody's always asking about as to where the southwest berm and where the Center Street reconstruction is at. So the southwest berm, we're continuing on. We got some good news yesterday that there is a group of people that have made appeals to Alberta Environment on their decision to allow the project to proceed. So we've been going through the last couple of months dealing with those appeals, and the people that placed the appeal, they asked for a stay on the project, so to try to stop the project. But I want to make a huge shout out to Tom Gillis, who's leading this project, and the work this guy has done over the years to try to keep this project going. He's done a fantastic job, and he did a lot of work on this to keep it going through our lawyers and everything and dealing with this. But we got great news yesterday that the Environment Appeals Board declined the ask for a stay. So there will be no stay on the project, which means we can forge ahead with what we're doing. There's still things we have to deal with on the appeal end, but that's kind of off to the side, and we will deal with that respectfully of those landowners, but the project continues to move forward. So rock and roll, good news. The Center Street project, tendering's closed, and what we're trying to do is get the project going and hopefully if not fully completed, mostly completed, while this is going on and while some of those businesses have had to close their doors. So what we're trying to do is avoid this COVID thing, and then that being, the restrictions being released and the businesses open up, and then we start tearing the street up. So our plan is to kind of keep it all going at the same time to have as little disruption to the businesses as possible. So that's an extremely important project, and those that are asking, well, why don't you just wait a year and do it next year or something? The problem is that we have government funding that's involved with this, and if we don't use this money in a timely manner, because a lot of it is still flood recovery money, if we don't use it, we can lose it. So we're trying to be respectful of those limitations as well, and just get the project done and forge ahead as we continue to do. As far as the town of High River, and I want to make a huge shout out to the other 6 councillors that have got your backs going through this thing, and it's you know, me on this thing, but there's 6 other members of this council that I got just an unbelievable amount of respect for these individuals and how much we are on the same page with what we need to do and our responsibility to make sure our community comes out of this as fast as possible and as healthy as possible. So give these people a huge thanks, because they deserve it. And we're meeting often. We do virtual meetings, and then we had a special council meeting on Monday that was live streamed on YouTube. So keep watching for that. When we do special council meetings, you will be able to, the public can still watch those meetings. So just because we're not in council chambers, we are all on our computers. None of us are getting together. We're all doing it virtually. But the public is able to watch them live on YouTube. So again, massive shout out to all the councillors. Everybody's doing their piece into making this thing work, and we all come together and kind of share what each other's doing. And it's a huge part to keep the success of how well we're doing through this right now together. So fantastic, folks. Essential services are all operating properly with our water and wastewater services, fire, police, garbage is all operating. The recycling depot is still open. Again, a huge shout out to Chris, our CAO, Chris Prosser, and how he's managing all the staff, and our HR team with Sonia and Nicole, and handling all the different pieces with our HR. It's a big, big job. And to all the staff within the town, I know it sucks and it's hard to work from home when all the stuff is back at the office. But like I said before, and I'll continue to say it, we can do this. It's hard, it's not easy, but we've got each other's backs, and we can get through this. To all our staff that are keeping this town rolling, everybody, the whole community, we're doing good. We got to keep it going. Week 3, we've got a few more weeks to go of this, and I'll say it again, we can do it, and we've got it, foot to the floor. So we'll leave it with that. Any questions?
Local businesses are considered heroes to you and community for efforts they have put forward to help with, during the crisis.
So what local businesses or local people are heroes through this? And that's a tough one to answer, because I think absolutely everybody is in their own way, right? Whether you're a hero if you're just staying at home and taking care of yourself and abiding by the rules, you're part of this, you're a hero. But, our healthcare staff is massive. The grocery store staff, all these key essential services, they're staying at home can be easy as long as we got enough food in the house and bags of chips and nachos. That's makes it much easier and palatable to be able to do that. But, it's also tiny little things, and I'll shout out to Bill McKillop and Wes Lee that texted me last week and said, hey, how about putting the High River Strong Parade float out, and I asked a few counselors, and everybody was, yeah, thumbs up, go. And Bill's always the one that goes out and grabs the float and brings it into town anyways for the parade. So they went out and grabbed it and brought it into town and set it up. And it's just little things that help lift up your community like that. But everybody's a hero in this. And like I said, we've still got 2 cases in the High River zone, which again is a massive, massive zone. We don't have any known cases within High River as the town of High River. So the reason for that is because everybody's being a hero and everybody's doing their part and taking responsibility for it. So. Anything else? Rock and roll. You know how to get a hold of us. So foot to the floor, rock and roll. See you next week.